Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Skyrim is one of those games that just sucks you in right from the start. You're dropped into this massive open world where you can literally go anywhere and do anything. The freedom is insane. Whether you want to stick to the main quest and deal with dragons or get lost in side quests for hours, there's no wrong way to play. The combat is straightforward but fun, especially with the variety of playstyles. You can be a stealthy assassin, a battle-hardened warrior, or even throw fireballs as a mage. And let's not forget the dragons. The first time you take one down, it's such a rush. However, no matter what anyone says, in my opinion, the best thing of Skyrim is the freedom to add mods. The game becomes completely different once you install a variety of mods such as environments, outfits, builds, adding animals into the game, refining textures, weather change. Literally, the game becomes a whole new RPG after installing the mods.
To go inside.
Why? I want to watch the soldiers.
Inside the house. Now.
Yes, Papa.
However, be cautious because some mods can break the game, resulting in losing progress or just reinstalling the entire game. Some players say that the game is meant to be played in vanilla, but it's not a big deal. In 2024, you can surely add mods to enhance your experience. The reason why Skyrim is a must-own game is because it's more of a godfather of modern RPG games. You have got all sorts of open-world content, which means that you won't get bored. Any player can easily spend over 100 hours with infinite replayability. The only catch is you have to stay patient in your first playthrough because the game can be a bit confusing or overwhelming. It takes some time to know what's going on and what's your in-game purpose. Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is an absolute blast from start to finish, man. It's like being part of a huge summer blockbuster movie, but you're the one in control. The story is probably the best in the series. It dives deep into Nathan Drake's past and relationships, especially with his brother Sam, which adds so much more emotional weight to everything. It's not just about finding treasure anymore, it's about family, loyalty, and dealing with the consequences of Nate's past.
Hey, brother! Get closer! I'm trying!
If we briefly talk about the basic features, then the graphics are top tier and the attention to detail is insane, whether it's the environments, the facial animations, or even the little things like how your clothes get wet or dirty as you explore. You will be surprised how stunning the game really is. The wide variety of environments makes the game engaging as you're not stuck in some random jungle. Uncharted 4 takes you on a journey across different places such as island, jungles, ruins, mansions. All this makes the overall experience quite fun, and you won't feel like leaving the controller. Now, let's talk about another fan favorite aspect of the game, the gameplay. You've still got those classic Uncharted action moments, big shootouts, crazy set pieces where everything's blowing up or falling apart around you, but there's also a lot of exploration and puzzle solving. The grappling hook adds a fun twist to movement and combat, and it gives you more ways to approach situations. Last of Us Remake. And at its core, the remake stays true to the original masterpiece, but it's been given a modern facelift that really changes how it feels. The visuals are insane, and I mean that in the best way possible. Every scene feels like it's filled with detail, whether it's the subtle emotions on Joel and Ellie's faces or the terrifying realism of the infected. You can tell the developers went all in on making sure every corner of this world looks like it's been lived in and ruined by the apocalypse. They've clearly taken lessons from Part 2 and brought those mechanics back to make the combat and stealth feel more refined. You're sneaking around, taking down enemies and crafting things on the go, but everything just feels a bit more fluid. The enemy AI is also enhanced, which means that it'll be much harder to find a good hiding spot. You can get spotted and killed pretty easily. What really stands out is how emotionally heavy it still hits, maybe even harder this time. It's like revisiting a movie you love, but now you're noticing all these little extra details that make it even more heartbreaking. That bond between Joel and Ellie is somehow even more powerful with the added realism. Honestly, if you want to own a zombie game, then Last of Us is perhaps the best one. Days Gone is a good one, but you will probably get bored. Dying Light is another fine example if you just love the thrill of smashing skulls. That's why Last of Us Remake is the best choice for anyone who wants to experience a great story amidst a zombie apocalypse. Our next bonus game is Marvel's Spiderman. The reason I'm including this game is because Spidey has been one of our favorite superheroes. We love the guy since our childhood, and over the years we had a lot of games, but the 2018 is definitely the best one as everything has been updated, whether it be the entire New York City or the cinematic visuals or cutscenes, and the gameplay is smooth as well. Web swinging feels incredible. Just for the sake of nostalgia and how iconic Spidey is, I think it's no doubt we must own at least one Spider-Man game. You guys can go with the other modern ones, but I just love the 2018 release. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. The remastered version really captures the magic of the original trilogy, but with all the visual upgrades that modern gaming needs, if you've never played Mass Effect, this edition is the best way to experience it since it bundles all 3 games into one package. If we talk about all the parts, then pretty much in the first one you play as a commander, and your main job is to shape the galaxy with your decisions. Mass Effect 2 is where the gameplay really shines, it's smoother, and the stakes are higher. The suicide mission is one of the best designed missions in gaming. The tension and the possibility that any of your choices could lead to squadmate deaths keep you on edge.
I wasn't expecting to find the Geth here. The situation's bad.
Don't worry. I've got it under control.
By the time you hit Mass Effect 3, the weight of all your decisions comes crashing down. Every relationship, choice, and action throughout the series affects how things end. One of the best things I like about the Legendary Edition is that it makes the first Mass Effect available for modern players with better aiming, movement, and the overall gameplay. It's a nice thing because this way more and more people will be able to play the game and just realize how great Mass Effect series really is. I prefer Remake because of how well the lighting is, and the cleaner textures bring out the galaxies, spaceships, or planets to their ultimate best. It all looks stunning, and you can't help but just keep on playing the game for hours. Bloodborne. Bloodborne is an absolute beast of a game. From the moment you step into the game, you're hit with this dark, nightmarish vibe, and to be honest, I really loved it. Playing an entire game where everything is kind of spooky, and then you combine all this with the highest level of difficulty, what more do you need? Not gonna lie, Bloodborne is definitely not for everyone, but people who love Souls games knows how important this game really is. For me, Sekiro and Bloodborne will always be the 2 GOATs of From Software. Anyways, if you have played all the major Souls titles, and luckily you do own a PS4, then my friend, it's time to give Bloodborne a chance. This game will literally test your skills and patience. Unlike other games, you can't just get an overpowered weapon or build. In Bloodborne, you must learn new skills, attack patterns, and use different attack move sets. Each enemy is different, resulting in you growing as a player by learning about all sorts of things. It's funny, but I know that a lot of you who are diving into the game for the first time will probably quit it at the first boss. Bloodborne is one of those games where everything is hard and out to get you, even the first boss. So if you are in a mood for some hardcore challenges, then don't look further as Bloodborne will be your prime choice. The world design is all interconnected in a way that makes exploring a joy, even though every alleyway feels like it's hiding some deadly secret. There's this constant tension in the air, where you know danger could be lurking just around the corner. Red Dead Redemption 2.
This is it, gentlemen.
The last one!
There can never be a game like Red Dead. This is one of those peak moments of Rockstar when everything felt right. It's much better than GTA 5's open world. You could do anything you want. If you are slightly bored with the main storyline, then you can explore the open world, hunt for animals, complete side quests, find small details, mess with the NPCs, visit certain places, or even find treasure. The game is loaded with content to make you feel as if you're in a living, breathing world where even the tiniest details matter. I remember I was completely surprised from Chapter 2. It felt like a huge world of endless possibilities has opened for me.
You, my friend, what do you think about women's suffrage?
I could go anywhere and do whatever I wanted. The storyline will always be one of the strongest points that made the game our favorite memory. However, I'm sure a lot of you guys have spent over 50 hours doing random stuff, and it's totally understandable. Now, let's just give some appreciation to the characters, the story, and the overall writing or dialogues. Red Dead 2 touched our hearts, and the main reason was Arthur and the bond between the gang. Towards the end, you start to realize that everything is about to end, and that's what truly makes each moment precious. We see everything about Arthur's life, such as his troubles, his love life, the illness, how great of a person he was, and he just really felt something more than a game's main character. We really connected with the guy. The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is honestly one of those rare games that just pulls you in and doesn't let go. The world is massive, but not in a way that feels overwhelming. It's more like wherever you go, there's a new story, a hidden detail, or something that makes you feel like you're in a living, breathing world. If we talk about the combat, then it's pretty cool, with a mix of swordplay, magic, and potions, though it can feel a little repetitive if you're just slashing away. But what stands out for me is how every decision you make actually feels like it matters.
Go away, or I'll kill you.
You think you're just choosing between a couple of dialogue options, and then 5 hours later you're dealing with the consequences in ways you didn't expect. It's got that kind of depth. Honestly, there's a lot to talk about, as every gaming feature such as environment, characters, story, open world, and much more are perfect in Witcher 3. Sure, for some players the initial hours are boring, but I just don't know how people can ever hate this game after finishing it. Witcher has been one of the most iconic titles of all time. A lot of RPGs have taken inspiration from it. There's even a TV series starring Henry Cavill, and don't even get me started on the books. If you guys ask me, then I just want to say that if you are looking for some deep open world RPG where every feature is perfect, then Witcher 3 will be a great choice. If you are getting bored in the first few hours, then wait for it, because the game definitely gets better. Elden Ring. I know that this one is another basic choice, but you can never disagree that Elden Ring is a bad game. Everyone who completed the game is crazy about what From Software has done with it. The open world, the bosses, and the variety of weapons or builds, it all adds up perfectly, giving a fascinating experience. Even someone who's a major fan of the Souls games, I can tell you that Elden Ring is such a fresh take, though I hope that from now on the studio comes back to the linear style. It'd be nice to play another Sekiro or Bloodborne. Elden Ring is an experience that I think every gamer should have at least once. It's not just a game, it's like a brutal, immersive world that constantly demands your focus. The first thing you'll notice is just how massive and beautiful the world is. Everywhere you go, there's something lurking, whether it's a terrifying boss that'll crush you in seconds or a hidden item that makes your journey just a bit more manageable. What blew me away the most was how the game doesn't hold your hand at all. You're thrown into this world without a map filled with markers or constant directions. It's up to you to figure things out, and that sense of discovery is next level. When you finally stumble upon a hidden dungeon or a crazy boss fight, it's just this rush of excitement mixed with dread, because you know you're probably going to die, but that's part of the fun. It's not just about the challenge though. Elden Ring feels like a game where you can create your own adventure. Whether you're exploring every inch of the map or leveling up your character to experiment with different builds, there's always something new to do or learn. It's definitely a game that rewards patience and curiosity, and if you stick with it, it'll give you some of the best moments you've ever had in gaming. Dying Light.
I could use your help. I'm not a murderer.
Dying Light takes the traditional zombie FPS campaign and cranks it up by throwing parkour into the mix, making it one of the most intense single-player experiences out there. You're Kyle Crane, an undercover agent dropped into a quarantined city overrun by the infected. Your mission? Infiltrate and survive. But it doesn't take long before you realize that the infected aren't the only things you need to worry about. The game brilliantly mixes fast-paced parkour movement with brutal combat, and it never lets you feel completely safe. The parkour system is a game changer. You're not just running from zombies, you're leaping over buildings, vaulting fences, and sliding under obstacles, all while trying to stay one step ahead of the horde. It makes exploring the city of Heron both exhilarating and terrifying. The open world is your playground, but once the sun sets, the real terror begins. Nighttime in Dying Light is when things go from run for your life to pray you survive. As the more aggressive, faster volatiles come out to hunt, the tension is crazy and you'll feel your heart pounding as you try to find safety before darkness fully takes over. Combat is brutal and visceral. Whether you're smashing a zombie's head in with a makeshift bat or using a machete to slice through hordes of infected, every hit feels impactful. We've got a wide variety of weapons, and each can be modified to deal extra damage or add elemental effects like fire or electricity. And it's not just about fighting. The infected human enemies are just as dangerous, forcing you to think strategically in combat situations. What sets Dying Light apart is how it makes movement and exploration feel just as important as the combat. You're constantly scavenging for supplies, crafting new gear, and upgrading your skills, which all adds to the tension of survival. The more you explore, the more you unlock, and the deeper you get into the story. Speaking of which, while it's a zombie apocalypse narrative at its core, it keeps you hooked with unexpected twists, moral choices, and a cast of characters that aren't just trying to survive, they're trying to figure out what it means to still be human in a world that's falling apart. The game's setting is gorgeous in a bleak kind of way. Heron is detailed and atmospheric, from the decaying city streets to the abandoned buildings, and the way the environment shifts between day and night adds a layer of danger that few games pull off this well. Every time the sun sets, you're faced with a choice: risk it all for a mission or hunker down and wait for daylight. If you love first-person action with a survival twist, Dying Light is one of the best FPS campaigns out there. The combination of parkour, brutal combat, and the terrifying shift between day and night makes every moment feel tense and rewarding. It's not just about surviving the infected, it's about learning how to thrive in a world that's always trying to kill you. Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk 2077 is a beast of a game that throws you headfirst into Night City, a neon-drenched, futuristic dystopia where everything's about power, tech, and survival. You play as V, a mercenary trying to make it big, but things go sideways fast when you end up with Johnny Silverhand, a rebel rockstar played by Keanu Reeves, stuck in your head. From there, it's a crazy ride full of tough choices, shootouts, hacking, and trying to not lose your mind, literally. The city itself is the real star here. Night City is just alive. Everywhere you go, it's packed with details, from the bustling markets to the high-end corporate towers. It's chaotic, dangerous, and absolutely gorgeous. The first time you step out into the streets, you'll probably just stand there soaking it all in because the world feels so damn real. You can spend hours just exploring, and it's not just window dressing. The city's full of stuff to do, people to meet, and of course trouble to get into. The combat is slick and satisfying. Whether you're going in guns blazing, hacking your way through enemy systems, or using stealth, the game gives you tons of options to approach every situation. And the weapons, they're crazy fun to use. From smart guns that lock onto targets to cybernetic enhancements that let you slice through enemies with ease, it never gets boring. Plus, the upgrades and mods let you customize V to suit your playstyle, which gives you a ton of freedom. The story's intense and it hits hard. There's a lot of moral gray areas in Cyberpunk, and you're constantly making decisions that impact how things play out. The characters are memorable, especially Johnny Silverhand, who's got this badass, rebellious attitude but is also haunted by his past. His interactions with V are some of the best parts of the game, and the way their relationship develops keeps things interesting. The whole game has this undercurrent of how much are you willing to sacrifice to get what you you want, and it makes you think. And let's not forget the RPG elements. You're constantly upgrading V, unlocking new skills, and tweaking your cyberware to make you even more of a force in Night City. Whether you're specializing in hacking, combat, or stealth, the game lets you play your way, and the customization runs deep. Plus, the side quests are some of the best parts of the game. They're not just filler, they're full of interesting stories, characters, and moments that make you care about this messed up world. Sure, the game had its rough launch, but at its core, Cyberpunk 2077 is one hell of an experience. It's a game that grabs you with its world, hooks you with its story, and keeps you coming back with its gameplay. If you're into FPS campaigns that give you freedom, story depth, and a sprawling world to get lost in, this one's a must play. Just be ready for a wild ride. Night City doesn't pull any punches. Before we continue the video, quick shout out to Instant Gaming who are making this video possible. I've been using their site to get some insane deals on a bunch of popular titles. You should really check out their bestseller section, seriously. It's stacked with everything from PC to PlayStation games at crazy low prices. The cool part is their games come straight from authorized resellers, so you're always getting a legit deal. If you're into pre-ordering games, you'll love their pre-order section too. Grab the next big release early and save. Plus, their Trustpilot reviews are rock solid. Definitely worth a visit if you're looking for awesome discounts. Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 is one of those games that came out of nowhere and blew everyone away, especially with its single-player campaign. Most people expected it to be all about the multiplayer, but damn, the campaign is easily one of the best in the FPS genre. You play as Jack Cooper, a regular grunt who gets thrown into the pilot's seat of a Titan, basically a giant mech after his mentor dies in battle. From there, it's you and your Titan buddy BT-7274 going on a mission to save the day, and honestly, the bond between you and BT is what makes this game special. The campaign is fast and smooth. The parkour movement where you can run along walls, double jump and slide makes every firefight feel incredibly fluid. You're always on the move and it keeps the adrenaline pumping. Then there's the mix of combat where you're either on foot as a pilot or controlling BT in full-on mech mode. The shift between pilot and Titan is seamless and it keeps the gameplay fresh. 1 minute you're sprinting across rooftops, the next you're stomping through enemies in a Titan, blasting everything in sight. It's the perfect mix of speed and power. What really takes Titanfall 2's campaign to the next level are the level designs. There's one mission in particular effect and cause that everyone talks about because it's straight up genius. You're flipping between two timelines in real time, solving puzzles and fighting enemies by switching back and forth. It's one of those moments that hits you like, whoo, this is next level, and the game is packed with little surprises like that, constantly keeping things interesting. BT is more than just a big robot you climb into. He's got personality. The game really nails the dynamic between Jack and BT, and by the end you actually care about this big mech. The dialogue between them has some funny moments, but there's also a lot of heart. It's rare for an FPS campaign to make you care this much about its characters, but Titanfall 2 does it effortlessly. If you're looking for an FPS campaign that mixes fast-paced action with clever level design and a story that'll actually make you care, Titanfall 2 is an absolute must-play. It's short, sweet, and packs a punch, one of the best FPS campaigns out there, hands down. Doom 2016. Doom 2016 is pure, chaotic fun. There's no complicated plot or deep moral choices. It's just you, a badass space marine, and a whole lot of demons that need to be blasted back to hell. From the moment you start, it's clear that this game doesn't mess around. You wake up, grab a shotgun, and get straight to tearing through hordes of demons like it's your damn job. And honestly, that's exactly what makes it so fun. The combat in Doom is fast, brutal, and insanely satisfying. You're constantly moving, running, jumping, dodging while unloading round after round into whatever demonic nightmare is in front of you. Standing still is basically a death sentence, so the game forces you to stay aggressive. The glory kills are some of the most brutal finishers you'll ever see, and they keep the pace high since you get health back every time you pull one off. It's this rhythm of shoot, dodge, punch, repeat that makes the game feel so damn good to play. The weapons are straight up insane. From the classic double-barreled shotgun to the devastating BFG, literally the big effing gun. Every weapon feels powerful and satisfying to use. And the game doesn't hold back on the ammo either, it's like they want you to go nuts. You're not just mowing down demons, you're doing it in style, and it never gets old. Visually, the game nails that hellish vibe. You're on Mars, sure, but once the demons start pouring in from hell, everything gets crazy. Fire, blood, metal, everything feels like it's straight out of a heavy metal album cover. The levels are packed with secrets, upgrades, and just enough variety to keep things interesting, but let's be real, you're here to rip and tear through demons, and that's exactly what the game delivers. The soundtrack deserves a shout out too. It's this intense industrial metal score that perfectly matches the speed and chaos of the gameplay. It amps you up and makes every firefight feel like the most intense thing ever. You'll be headbanging along while blasting demons into pieces, and it just feels right. If you're looking for a game that doesn't waste time with unnecessary fluff and gets straight to the action, Doom 2016 is perfect. It's fast, brutal, and damn fun from start to finish. No deep storylines, no complicated mechanics, just pure, unfiltered demon-slaying madness. And sometimes that's all you really need. Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is one of those hidden gems that flew under the radar for a lot of people, but if you're into open world games with a killer story and crazy combat, this one's an absolute must play. I think of it like GTA meets martial arts action, but with a deep dive into the gritty underworld of Hong Kong. It's got style, attitude, and some of the best hand-to-hand combat you'll find in any open-world game. You play as Wei Shen, an undercover cop trying to take down the triads from the inside. What's so damn good about this setup is that Wei's constantly caught between two worlds: his duty as a cop and the loyalty he's building with the criminal organization he's infiltrating. The story pulls you in right from the start, and it's got some intense, emotional moments that'll hit you hard. You're not just running errands for mob bosses, you're watching Wei struggle with his own identity and what's right or wrong in this violent world. The combat is where Sleeping Dogs really shines. Most open world games lean heavily on gunplay, but here it's all about brutal, bone-crunching martial arts combat. You're taking on gangs in street brawls, pulling off insane combos, and using the environment to your advantage. Slamming a guy's head into a wall or tossing him into a fish tank. Damn, it feels so good. The fighting system is smooth and makes every fight feel like a scene straight out of a kung fu movie. Don't get me wrong, there's gunplay too, but the melee combat is where the game goes from good to great. And let's talk about Hong Kong. The city is alive, it's not just a backdrop, it feels like a real breathing place. You've got street markets, high-rise buildings, neon signs lighting up the night, and tons of little details that make it feel like you're right in the middle of this sprawling metropolis. Whether you're driving fast cars through narrow alleys, racing motorcycles across bridges, or just exploring, the world is packed with things to do. There are street races, side missions, and collectibles, but it never feels overwhelming, it's all just part of this wild journey you're on. The driving in Sleeping Dogs is surprisingly fun too. You're weaving through traffic, pulling off stunts, and even hijacking cars while in motion. It's pure action movie madness. And the missions, they're a mix of everything undercover cop work, high-octane chases, gang fights, and more. The game keeps throwing fresh challenges at you so it never gets stale. If there's any knock on the game, it's that it didn't get the same level of attention as other big open world titles, but that's a damn shame, because Sleeping Dogs does so much right. It's got a compelling story, top-tier combat, and a world that's fun as hell to explore. If you're a fan of open world action games and haven't played Sleeping Dogs, you're seriously missing out. It's an underdog in the genre, but trust me, you won't regret giving this one a shot. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is exactly the kind of game Star Wars fans had been craving for years. It's got lightsaber duels, force powers, a story that actually respects the Star Wars lore, and a galaxy-spanning adventure that'll keep you hooked from start to finish. You play as Cal Kestis, a Jedi Padawan who survived Order 66, and now he's on the run, trying to rebuild what's left of the Jedi Order while being hunted by the Empire. It's a classic Star Wars tale of hope, redemption, and finding your place in a galaxy that's gone to hell. Right off the bat, The game nails that Star Wars atmosphere. The music, the sound effects, the locations, it's all spot on. You're exploring iconic planets, taking on stormtroopers, and unlocking force abilities that make you feel more and more like a Jedi with every step. It's the kind of game that makes you stop for a second and go, damn, I'm really in the Star Wars universe. The combat is where Fallen Order shines. It's got that smooth, satisfying lightsaber action, but it's not just mindless button mashing, it's more tactical, a bit like Dark Souls, where you've got to parry, dodge, and think about each fight. The lightsaber battles feel weighty, and the enemies aren't pushovers. You'll face everything from stormtroopers to massive creatures, and of course the terrifying Inquisitors. The boss fights, in particular, are intense, especially when you go up against enemies who are just as strong in the Force as you are.
Keep fighting. That makes us who we are.
Exploration is also a huge part of the game. It's got that Metroidvania vibe where you're constantly unlocking new abilities that let you access areas you couldn't before. The planets are full of secrets, hidden upgrades, and lore that fleshes out the Star Wars universe in cool ways. It's not just a straight up linear adventure. You'll be revisiting planets, finding shortcuts, and using your growing set of Jedi powers to solve puzzles and take on tougher enemies. And let's talk about BD-1, your little droid companion. BD-1 is the unsung hero of the game. He's adorable, super helpful, and honestly you'll get attached to him real quick. He helps you heal, hack doors, and even zip line around like it's no big deal. It's classic Star Wars to have a droid sidekick, and BD-1 definitely lives up to the legacy of iconic droids like R2-D2 and BB-8. If you're a Star Wars fan, you need to play this, and even if you're not, it's still a damn good action-adventure game that stands on its own. You won't regret stepping into Cal's boots and taking on the Empire. Just Cause 3. Just Cause 3 is pure, unfiltered chaos, like the kind of game where you jump in, blow stuff up, and just have a ridiculous amount of fun doing it. If you're looking for deep storytelling or complex mechanics, this isn't that. But if you want to dive into a massive open world where explosions are basically a way of life, Just Cause 3 delivers that in spades. You play as Rico Rodriguez, and he's back to overthrow yet another dictator, this time in Medici, a beautiful Mediterranean island that's been turned into a war zone. The plot? Honestly, it's not much more than a backdrop for the mayhem. The real fun is in the sheer insanity of what you can do. Rico has a grappling hook, a wingsuit, and an endless supply of explosives, and that's all you really need to know. The whole game is about using those tools to cause as much destruction as humanly possible. The grappling hook is hands down one of the best mechanics in any game. You can tether objects together, pull down statues, hijack helicopters midair, or even attach a car to a gas tank and watch it fly off into the distance. It's all about creativity, and the game gives you so much freedom to experiment with how you blow things up. Combine that with the wingsuit and you're practically flying around the map, leaping off cliffs, soaring over enemy bases, and then diving straight into the action. It's wild and so satisfying. Medici is gorgeous, by the way. The island is massive, with beaches, mountains, towns, and military bases scattered all over. It's the kind of world that begs to be explored, not because you're looking for collectibles, though there are plenty, but because you want to see how you can blow everything up. The environments are so open and destructible that every encounter feels like a playground for chaos. Combat is over the top, and sometimes just plain ridiculous. You've got a huge arsenal of weapons, from rocket launchers to grenades, but what makes it stand out is how you can combine your grappling hook with the explosions, tie enemies to fuel tanks, shoot the tanks, and watch them go flying. It never gets old. The game gives you endless ways to cause mayhem, and that's what makes it so fun. In its core, Just Cause 3 is about blowing stuff up in the most creative and fun ways possible. It's the definition of a turn your brain off and enjoy game. If you're in the mood for some high-octane destruction with zero regard for realism, you won't regret spending time in Medici. Just be ready for things to get real messy, real fast.